Hello and welcome to another Thursday here on Viking.TV. You're joining me and Diamond at my home here in the UK, where it is just another pretty ordinary, rainy and unremarkable day. But in the USA, this particular Thursday is very special indeed. So let me just say to everyone, and particularly if you're American, happy Thanksgiving. I know today is traditionally a day for family get-togethers and, an enormous feast with turkey and all the trimmings, a wonderful dinner with all your loved ones around you, and time to celebrate the whole idea of family and of the community values that we hold dear. I'm also aware, of course, that so many people are not able to do that. They're not able to be with their loved ones at this time of year because, of course, of the pandemic. But hopefully, if you're good at computers and tablets and iPhones and things like that, you will be able to talk and see them and celebrate virtually. That's the sort of stopping off point that we're all having to consider, isn't it? Talking of family, friends and community, I couldn't have found a more appropriate guest for you to meet today, because amongst her many, many awards over the years, she was Humanitarian of the Year, and she's devoted much of her life to imaginative and ingenious ways of helping people. But she's even more than that. She is also an inspiring speaker and a philanthropist who has worked tirelessly to support charitable causes and empower women. A passion, apparently, she got from her mother, who imbued in her a sense of the importance of caring for others. And indeed, she wasn't born with a silver spoon in her mouth. Born in the Bronx, she had what they say, humble beginnings. She took her first job at the age of 14 to pay for her college. And then through sheer determination and talent and flair, she studied lighting and set design at NYU, funded by a scholarship, but also 3 jobs. And then she changed her study to biochemistry and experimental psychology. As if that wasn't quite enough, wait for it, after a chance meeting, she fell in love and married an up-and-coming chef and restaurateur, Wolfgang Puck. Now you'll know the name. Together, their lives went into high octane with more restaurants and her knack for colour and design and bold, exciting new ideas, inspiring yet more success. So I'm thrilled to see that she still has the love of colour that she's known for, because it's self-evident as we join her now from her home. Entrepreneur, designer and humanitarian, Barbara Lazaroff. It's lovely to see you. Hi.
And it's such a pleasure to finally meet you. Karina had so many lovely things to say about you. And my partner, John Hanwell, who's English, hails from Somerset, sends his regard, as does my godson, Spencer, in London. They both know of you so well, and said, please say hello.
Oh, that's lovely. And I started my career in Somerset on a tiny little newspaper called the Bridgewater Mercury. John will probably know that. But Karina warned me that you might be very golden, and you are surrounded by gold as I look at you now. And she said that gold is the colour of your heart. Isn't that lovely? You have a golden heart, I'm told.
That's very dear and very sweet, but I think it's a reflection of who she is, really.
Yeah, that too. Well, all I can say to you is happy Thanksgiving. I know it's a very, very special time for particularly Americans. We haven't really got into Thanksgiving in the same way in Britain, but in America, I know it's so fundamentally important to family and life and everything. How do you view Thanksgiving? I've seen some wonderful pictures of how you love usually to dress a Thanksgiving table, a feast.
Yes, very abundantly. I think that the word gratitude is so important. I think we should live with gratitude every day for the things we have as opposed to the things we do not have. That's not often easy because there are issues in life. We lose loved ones. We have challenges in our businesses, certainly these days. And there are so many situations that take a great deal of energy and forethought and sometimes on the spot spontaneous decision making, but we still need to live with gratitude because we have an abundant life. We are very blessed. So even for those who have less. They, I'm looking at some of these very funny pictures.
I can't get over the size of the turkey.
The turkey, that's a 26-pound turkey, but we had 14 people that day. This Thanksgiving, my older son in the center there with the beard, and his wife, Kate, and their dog, Corey, who usually come on a plane to visit from Boston, can't be with us. Byron on the right, who's a chef and going into hospitality, he's got a turkey hat that I bought him for. He's carving the turkey, he cooked it. The older son is getting his PhD in an area called the History of Science and Technology, and he's about to defend his dissertation in January. And Byron's about to take over 2 restaurants in a management position. He went to Cornell in a very prestigious program for hospitality and management. So both sons are doing well. I have an amazing, warm, intelligent, emotionally intelligent, not just book intelligent daughter-in-law that I love, Kate. So it's a really lovely but small family because, you know, my beloved mother and my father and my elder brother all passed away recently. My younger brother, his wife, and 2 nephews are still alive. They're back in New York. So again, what Thanksgiving is, it's about remembering and celebrating all the good things in our lives.
Yeah. Well, it's literally about giving thanks for the good things, as you said, and even those who are no longer with us. You know, God, we knew them, and, you know, thank God for the years that we knew them.
Well, my mom always said that she'll always be sitting on my shoulder, and I think that's true. And I wrote on her stone that she was my due north, and I think she was the entire family's true north, and a lot of integrity, great beauty. She was a graceful, beautiful woman. I always say, unfortunately, I look more like my father. She was very creative. She was a painter. But she had to go into business to help to support the family. She didn't get to do the things she really wanted to do. She earned a scholarship in biology. She never had the opportunity to go to college, even though she had won this scholarship. So I think my mother instilled in me so many things that I think that I'm so grateful. There's my beautiful mother. I was actually, I was 8.5 months pregnant in that photograph. That's why you're hiding behind her. Yeah. No, I was very, very proud of my stomach because I was 35 years old. I had waited a very long time to have a baby, but she was the star at that moment. But that was my baby shower for one of my 5 baby showers, by the way, for Cameron, my elder son. And it's like I was celebrating my mother because even on my birthday, I would be the first to call and say, "Happy birthday, Mom." I remind my children, I call them and I say, "Happy birthday." I said, "Just remember, I did all the work."
Yeah, well, exactly. Absolutely. Now, talking of giving thanks and celebrating and hoping to be with family, though we may not be able to do so this year, are you looking forward to Hanukkah?
I am. You know, I'm not particularly religious in a traditional sense. I'm religious, or I celebrate Hanukkah in a cultural fashion, and neither of my relationships, I was not married to a Jewish gentleman, so I tried to celebrate Christmas for them as well. I'm a great believer in celebrating whenever you can.
Well, I don't want to upset you because I want to ask you though, because I've got a little video that you sent us of a Hanukkah that you celebrated with Cotton Ball. Now, you'll have to explain who Cotton Ball is, and is he still with us?
No, Cotton Ball just passed away, but I think that a dog that can live 15.5 years, who's blind, has diabetes and Cushing's, and we managed to keep him alive. We used to take him to the vet, and they used to ask, "How have you done this?" And it was done with a friend where he was fed precisely at the same time, given his injections precisely at the right time. We did everything we could, and his sister, Snowball, not really a sister, was also a Bichon Frise that lived almost as long because she was a year older. But I always had, well, at one point I had 27 animals here. I had 2 llamas in my backyard. I had rabbits that kept breeding, so I had to have all the girls fixed finally. I finally figured out why they kept having babies. And then I had 4 dogs always at a particular time. I used to have very large dogs. And then these 2 little dogs came because I did a cancer benefit every year that we actually created. And each year they were auctioning off a dog, and little Byron would say, Mommy, Mommy, I really want that. And so I bid on it. And the following year, Mommy, Mommy, I really got the second dog. And the third year I said, absolutely not. So it's okay. You can show Cotton Ball. And
well, yes, I would love to show it because everybody here at Viking seems to love dogs. And I just thought this was just so gorgeous. And I don't want to make you sad, but it is this time of year when lots of people don't just remember human members of the family. They do remember and cuddle up to, and maybe that's all they've got to cuddle up to, is canine members and feline members of the family. So let's have a little look at this video.
I just do want to tell you that Cotton Ball and Snowball used to be big and white and fluffy and beautiful, but of course this is the end of Cotton Ball's life. So I don't want the viewers out there to think that Cotton Ball wasn't well kept.
Oh no, you can see he's a veteran. He's served his time,
Yes.
but he's so cute, and you are so loving to him. And I love your Hanukkah candles because they're so brightly coloured, as you are, so well known for. So let's just take a look at this lovely little video of Cotton Ball and his last Hanukkah.
Yes.
It's the 7th night of Hanukkah, and this is Barbara Lazaroff. He's 17 and a half years old, so I've invited him to light the candles with me, because this may very well be his last Hanukkah. Sweet guy. Okay, here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, lahadlik ner shel Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nasim lavotenu bayamim hahem bazman hazeh. Happy Hanukkah, Cotton Ball. Oh goodness, it would be great if the match is lit. Okay, happy Hanukkah to everyone. Much love. May the world be filled with peace. Thank you.
Oh, you see, Barbara, I think everybody can feel for you and probably have been through very much the same thing. He was obviously a lovely companion for many years.
He was. He was very sweet, and his favorite thing was just to be held and walked around and just to be with you. What could be better? All of my animals were delicious. The children, of course, that came to birthday parties here over the years, and we used to have one huge party every year for the children's birthdays, and I would invite everyone in the class, not just one class. So there would be 80 children, 250 people. And it was a huge thing that I prepared. It was very funny. They would all comment, well, you have llamas, you have this. Is this your entire farm? I would actually have other pets brought in, but I really didn't need to because the kids were always coming to visit the llamas.
You see, you've always obviously really liked having a house full of people and animals and movement.
Yes, I love to be around people, and that's a good thing considering what I do. I go to the restaurant and I greet people, and I make sure they're being well fed and great service, and they're being entertained and they feel welcomed, because having restaurants, it's like having a home. You're welcoming people into your home in a sense, and spending sometimes a couple of years building one, and in certain cases 4 years in planning and development, and sometimes sleeping on dirty job sites, really, or in my car or on cement floors like I did for my wedding. I slept on a concrete floor underneath the bar at Chinois, covered in butcher block paper, and then the next day I got up, we got married, and then of course we had a huge wedding in the south of France afterwards. That subsequently, we do have to say we are divorced, but years later. But
there were moments.
Yes, but two beautiful sons came out of that
exactly.
marriage.
Yeah.
But the point is people, it's important to surround yourself with people because that's the great joy of life. That is why we're here. At the same time, I have absolutely no problem being alone. It's a disparate kind. I'm able to read or paint or garden or watch a film or just be quiet, but completely by myself. And I've been that way since I was a little girl. And my mother used to comment on that. I would sit and cut magazine pictures out and glue them on pages and, play with the furniture and do all sorts of funny things. But she would always comment that I had this amazing ability to just be by myself.
I understand that. I'm the same. And I think it's because you live a lot in your own imagination, which is what makes you so creative. Yes. But let's talk first about the importance of family, because I mentioned earlier that your mother sort of imbued in you this sense that you may not be the best off person in the world, you may not be rich or anything, but you should still care for others. There's that lovely picture, which I think is one of the most normal, wonderful family pictures. That's you, the little baby in the bath.
It is. I'm not even sure I was probably not even a year old maybe, and that's my mom, no makeup, whatever, and it's a little tiny apartment in the Bronx, and it's one of my favorite pictures. My older brother used to like to tear all the pictures of me up, so I've had to have a few of them repaired.
That's an important one. Yeah, and then as you said, she was an enormous influence on you in your life. And that's a beautiful photograph.
In this picture, my mother already had stage 4 lung cancer. She had stopped smoking 40 years prior. I didn't think I would mention in this interview, but now seeing that picture, I would like to say to everyone, if you smoke, stop.
Yeah.
It's a vile, vile habit, very addictive, so it's hard for many people. But that's at Spago, Beverly Hills. That was her birthday party. I had invited all the girls, and so there's other pictures with all the girls. All my girlfriends always celebrated my mother. Many of them had lost their moms already, so she was like a mom to them.
Yeah, well, that was a generation that smoked because it was fashionable. All the Hollywood movies told us to smoke. Exactly. It was the way, and unfortunately had a terrible legacy. And there are you, young Barbara, with the hair. Has your hair always been long? Did you ever cut it?
Yes, there was one moment, and I regret it terribly. I loved Marlo Thomas in That Girl. She was an American actress, and it was a very famous show. Danny Thomas's daughter. She's still alive, Marlo, and she's associated with a hospital here that gives free care to children. And so I admire her very much. So when I was junior high school, she had this haircut where, first of all, it was teased very high, and then it came down to about here. And then it curled out like this.
Oh, I remember.
It was like a flip. It was called a flip. So I cut my hair, but because my hair was enormously thick, when it was cut, it stood out like this. And when I went to school the next day, and I had bangs.
Bangs, yeah.
And everybody just thought
it was the look. It was the look, though, wasn't it?
I know, but I regretted it because
you did a super look of it. But
this is when I used to iron my hair.
Is that in college?
No, that's actually high school.
Oh.
And I was in the thespian society. I was going to be an actress, and we used to iron our hair as flat as we could get it. And I was a little chubby there.
I was going to say you look very sophisticated.
A little chubby, but that's okay. I played in South Pacific, but because I can't do the one thing I would love to be able to do, which is sing, I got the job. I was a dancer. I studied ballet, so I was the exotic girl who did Happy Talk.
Oh yeah. Happy talk. Yeah.
Exactly. So somebody else sang it, I danced it, and they painted me up every night. I had to be painted up, which is so
wouldn't be done nowadays.
Politically incorrect.
totally incorrect nowadays, but there you are. Things like that happened. But again, on the theme of family, to look through the family album, we've got a lovely picture of you with your baby son. That's number one. Who is that?
No,
Cameron?
that is Byron.
That's Byron. Sorry.
Byron always looked like a little pumpkin at about that age. That's my parents' 50th wedding anniversary party.
Oh.
And it's interesting because Cameron, the older son, came out at 8.5 pounds. He was huge, and he was 2.5 weeks late.
That is big.
And he was always a big baby. And Byron came out at 6.45, probably because similar to the time with Cameron, I was always climbing on ladders, getting up on the roof. I was on construction sites all the time. But that one, Byron, I was out of the hospital 6.5 hours or so, 6 hours after I had him. And the next day on a job site where I brought him to a hotel across the street with a nanny, and every 2 hours I would run across the street and breastfeed him and run back to the job site, which had no roof on it. So I looked like a drowned rat because it was pouring rain. So it sometimes does rain in California.
Oh, yes, occasionally. Not very often. I think we've got another one there of your sons when they're a bit more grown up.
Yes. Now, Cameron would probably be a little upset with that, but he likes having his beard now. The boys are 5.5 years apart, and that's Nui. No, maybe that's Alchemy. That's one of our cats. We had 13 cats.
Yeah.
So I didn't tell you about the cats earlier. We had 2 skinks. We had all kinds of animals. So that's Cameron on the older son, and that's Byron. And that's boys always love the animals.
Well, it's a beautiful photograph, isn't it? And we've got a bigger family photograph, which includes your partner. Can you talk us through the people?
Yes, all the way on. I don't know, the gentleman who is sitting next to my daughter-in-law, who's holding Corey the dog.
Yeah.
That's John. John's 7 years younger than me. I always tell him the good thing is Englishmen don't age that well. It's a joke because they do. They do. I shouldn't say that. And John is very conservative. So it's very few times of the year that I can actually get him into a pair of slacks like that, which are green corduroy with little peppermint sticks on it.
Yeah.
So I talked him into that. And then there's Corey the dog. And then in the middle is my son with the beard. That's Cameron, the PhD candidate. And that's Byron. And then that's me on the end. And that's on the steps in the backyard here to our garden.
Isn't it? I always think it's amazing that somebody as little as you can give birth to such huge boys.
The first one was difficult, and it wasn't a cesarean, so I will make no more comment about that.
Don't go into the gory details. We don't want to know.
No.
You sent me. Oh, that's another lovely picture of you with your partner, John.
That's a special day. That was my son Cameron and Kate's wedding day, and it was my mother got to see Cameron graduate from college. She got to see Byron's bar mitzvah. She didn't make it to the wedding, which came many years later. And John, I can only say, is the kindest, most supportive gentleman. He's helped raise my boys. He's been there always. And so we're not technically married, but I feel married. We've been together 17 years.
Ooh,
and
that's
so
going. Wow.
That would make a great wedding photograph for us.
I thought it was when I first saw it. I thought it was a wedding photograph, but it's absolutely lovely. And yes, when you've got somebody so special, isn't it wonderful? Your birthday you celebrated this year virtually, and I've got another little video that you took just showing us your absolutely fabulous garden, and another one of your lovely outfits, and the color, but also the friends, and the fact that you had to celebrate your birthday virtually, but you were able to contact your friends obviously through your iPhone. Let me just give everybody a flavor of how you celebrated that birthday virtually this year.
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear me. Happy birthday to
Oh, you see, it's sad that we're having to celebrate certain things virtually, but you clearly got a lot of friends who wanted to be nearer you than they were allowed to be.
Yes, well, there were only two girlfriends there, and one of them brought their one son who they lived together for various reasons, and he's like another godson to me. So it was having family there, but we kept everybody 20 feet apart.
Yeah, I can see
And
that.
I would bring the food from the kitchen, put it on a central table, and everybody had to come and pick up their own food. I had plated the food, but they came and took their plate and then sat down at their table.
Yeah, so you're serious about it.
I'm
A,
very
I love the hat, and B, I love the garden. Oh,
Well-
yeah, and the matching mask. Oh, my goodness, I'm very impressed.
Mhm.
That's the designer in you coming out of the United States. What's it like living in Beverly Hills? Is everybody like you, or are they very different? Are there mixed characters?
Yes, a very, very, very diverse. Obviously, people think of Beverly Hills as all sparkly and shiny and all the rest.
Yeah.
And indeed, there are areas that, Bel Air, Beverly Hills, surrounding areas where the homes are quite palatial. A lot of history in many of them. Sadly, some of them have been torn down to make more modern edifices, and some of them I'm not really fond of, but a lot of them are slated for historical protection, which I really like. I've added on to this house, which was the home to the heiress of the Pacific Gas and Electric Company, but it had been sectioned off already, and portions of the land had, when I purchased my portion, have gone to two homes behind me. But I added on to this house and built a state-of-the-art kitchen recently and an amazing bathroom. Or as my plumber would say, I never said anything, Barbara, but I couldn't understand how Barbara Lazaroff could have such a dreadful kitchen and bathroom, and now it's the most beautiful one in Beverly Hills. And I said, well, I had to wait because I upcycled so many things from elements I had designed for Spago, Beverly Hills, the first iteration, and then for Granita in Malibu that had been there for 20 years. So I used a lot of these elements and incorporated them into the design that exists in my kitchen and bathroom now, with, of course, a lot of new materials as well. But Beverly Hills is made up of, you've got students, you've got older folks, you've got younger people moving in. And I don't dress like this all the time. As I said, I could just wait 7 hours and I can go to the restaurant tonight in this outfit, but I have a lot of other work to do before then. These days I'm in my pajamas a lot, or I'm just hanging out, or I'm wearing my Catzilla t-shirt, my Catzilla t-shirt.
Pajamas, aren't they?
Oh yeah, some of my pajamas, I must admit, Anne, are very special,
Exactly.
but some are not. But I'm doing dirty work a lot too. I also do a lot of dirty work. And today I have to take this off to get messy in the kitchen for Thanksgiving.
Exactly. You're a cook and you're an artist, and you're prepared clearly to get your hands dirty occasionally. But I want to go through some of the celebrity photographs I've seen.
Okay.
Because obviously over the years, and particularly because of your, having the most trendy restaurants in the business, you have brushed up against and met and know and have friends of some of the biggest celebrities, well, in the world. Let's go through a few of those photographs. Got one there of you and Oprah, no less.
Lovely person. Special human being.
And doesn't she look fab there? Was that at one of your restaurants?
That was at Spago at one of our Oscar parties, and actually that's an Armani dress that I had to take two and cut them together, because there I'm also about 7 months pregnant.
Oh, you don't look it, except you do have a very beautiful cleavage.
Yes, exactly. That's how you can tell.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we've got another one of you and Cher, and you both look fabulous. Now, what was the do? Because obviously you're both very, very dressed up.
Another Oscar party. Irving, or Swifty Lazar as he was known, and Mary Lazar would have these coveted Oscar parties at our restaurant. People would try to bribe us to get a ticket to it. Somebody offered, and this is of course many years ago, $50,000 to one of his charities, and he said no. But the most amazing thing that year is I did not know that Cher was going to be wearing that Bob Mackie creation with that hat. And I'm wearing one of my favorite designers, Zandra Rhodes, the famous British designer, who's a British icon and a jewel in the culture. And she's one of my dear friends. And she had made that outfit for me. And look, I'm wearing some funny little do on my head as well.
Yeah,
and we were laughing about it.
So you're matched, don't you? You really do look as though you'd planned that photograph. But entirely different designers, but a very, very similar look.
Well, we look like we're going to a crazy hat party.
Yeah. Well, it's a great photograph. Now, when I saw this, I thought, oh my God, you've met Marilyn Monroe. And then you said, no, of course it's not Marilyn Monroe. It's Madonna and Michael Jackson there in the middle. What a night that was.
And that's another Zandra Rhodes dress. And it's quite heavy, actually. So that was the night that they came from the Oscars where they were Madonna was presenting. And it's a very quick, funny story. So she was wearing a white satin cut on the bias sort of dress, and she was wearing this long mink white stole. And when she sat down on one of the chairs, Michael inadvertently pulled his chair across her stole, and they sounded like an old married couple. Michael, you're ruining my stole here. Stop that. And it was a funny night. But that was the same night Warren Beatty was there, and I think Audrey Hepburn, which was probably...
Oh, no, we have a picture of you with Hepburn.
The best.
And I couldn't believe this because, wow,
That's about the same Oscar party. Of all the people, I'm often asked by the press, many interviews, who did you, I've met the King and Queen of Spain, I've met all the presidents, I've met everybody. Meeting Audrey Hepburn, and she came with Givenchy that night. She often did. Givenchy was such an elegant man. She was... Everything that's ever been said about her is true. I also met her at a number of UNICEF events. She was a divine woman. She was exquisite, but her soul was exquisite. When she spoke to you, she was looking directly at you and only you, and she was there for you in that moment. She had a most beautiful voice. There was such a grace and elegance and a sense of truly knowing herself. She was a wonderful, wonderful, she was a creature. She was something unusual.
An amazing creature. You're quite right. And look at those cheekbones. Wow. And talking of cheekbones, here's you with Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, Stevie, that was the same night too, because, there were lots of pictures over the years, but Stevie's a very funny, warm, wonderful, of course, brilliant composer, singer, talent, performer. What's interesting is he used to come to the restaurant on other nights as well, and he used to sign with his thumbprint.
Oh, really?
I have these little tidbits of things that one day when I write a book, I really have to.
Absolutely, you must.
I have to think about all the little fun things.
Got another lovely picture of you with a certain President Obama.
Oh, I just watched last evening. He did the most extraordinary interview about his new book, Promised Land. There were only 14 of us that went to Washington, and we had a private conversation with President Obama. You can't have it at the White House because it was also a fundraising thing. So if it's a fundraising event, it has to be at a separate. So it was across from the White House. But I've been to the White House a number of times, and he gave the most reflective, brilliant answers to an array of questions. Mine had to do with children and hunger and various things. There were many different things because I work in that field of hunger relief for 30 years.
Yes, and we must go into that in a moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
So of all the presidents I've met, I must say, I think, although Jimmy Carter was a brilliant man, also a very intelligent man, I have to say I keep President Obama in a special place in my heart, and quickly tell you that President Obama and Michelle Obama have come to Spago a number of times for private dinners, romantic dates, actually. We gave them a private room, and we would serve them dinner in that room, and it was a delight to meet her as well. She's a remarkable woman.
And isn't that lovely to hear that they wanted sort of a bit of privacy for a dinner, but a romantic dinner with just the two of them. I like the sound of that. And we've also got a lovely picture of you with Whoopi Goldberg, who is just fab, full stop, isn't she?
That is at the very, very beginning of her career. Not her career, very beginning of her massive growth of fame, because she had just done her one woman show on Broadway, and Swifty Lazar, was saying he was just, every time prior to that night, he would come in the afternoon and we would do the seating arrangement. His wife worked on it for weeks and he would mess it all up, and then he would go home and take a nap and she would reorchestrate it the way it was. And he said to me, and I have this wonderful new comedian coming to the party. Her name is Whoopi Goldberg. And I thought, Whoopi Goldberg, what an extra. Now, we did one of Whoopi's weddings, one of the marriages that didn't last. But it was still pretty fun. And we were offered a lot of money to tell them the location. And we did one for Madonna, too, and we were offered a lot of money, but we never gave out details. But Whoopi's grandchildren went to the same school as my children went in LA. So I would see her in other capacities as well. But we also were on a plane together. And one time she wound up in the hospital. I went to visit her in the hospital. She's the real deal. She's authentic and genuine. Yeah.
She just says it like it is, because why not? Yeah.
And she's so darn funny.
She's great fun. Yeah, I've done a program with her, and she is great fun because she's and a lot of people. Oh, and there's you with David Hockney.
Yes, because that's at my friend Rita and Maury Pinus's house, who have a massive collection of Hockneys, including Rebelle's Garden, one of my favorite all-time paintings that has probably gone to a museum now because Rita just passed away at the age of 94. She was a dear friend. And David, of course, has serious hearing loss. So in that venue, it's fine. If you're up close and personal, he can hear. So he used to come to the restaurant a lot, but it's not comfortable for him anymore. But I have a huge David Hockney lithograph in the living room downstairs called Hotel Akalon 2 days later. I collect art. Yeah. I support young artists for 30 years now, and I am blessed enough to have a few better known artists. Like the two pictures behind me are Tamayos, which is sort of like the lithographs, prints of like the Picasso of Mexico. And so one of the first pieces we ever purchased of any note. So I still have them.
How lovely. And they must be such a pleasure just sometimes to look at.
I actually buy art that I love. Some people buy art as
investment.
Merely as investments, only as investments. If I don't love the piece and I don't want to live with it, I won't buy it as an investment.
Yeah. A lot of people watching at the moment, I mean, an awful lot of people at the moment are watching from America. And so they'll know your story pretty well. So I won't sort of bore you by skipping through the whole thing of the Wolfgang Puck restaurants and the fact that, it exploded, zoomed you both into the A-list. And then your other restaurants and all your other ventures. I would love to talk about your charitable work now, because as I said in the beginning, you were named Humanitarian of the Year, and your mother from the very start. Twice. I didn't know twice.
James Beard Award and the National Association of Women Business Owners.
Yes, I know exactly. You empower women. And, yes. I know that a lot of it's due to your mother, because she brought you up saying that, you've got to help others. You've got to care for others. And you've done some remarkable things. What are the things you're most proud of doing and innovating when it comes to charitable work?
Well, I think what my former husband and I started, which was the American Wine and Food Festival, it was probably the largest food festival ever created at that time. 1,600 people attended it. And actually, it's where I met Karina, because she met John.
Sorry, just to tell everybody, this is Karina Hagen of Viking, yeah.
Yes. And so she came, I kept inviting her to the festival. We would have 34 chefs from around the United States fly in. and some from around the world, a few we would incorporate every year, 75 wineries, and it was on the studio lot. It started small on our backyard lot at Spago, Hollywood, which was the original place.
Sorry, just somebody tried to phone me. Sorry about that. Yes.
Oh.
Yes, and I gathered the first year you did it, you actually didn't make any money at all.
No, the first year we wrote a check from our personal bank account to send to because the money went to Meals on Wheels. Meals on Wheels is a charity that feeds homebound elderly. And we felt obligated. I certainly did. I've only been involved. That's in front of Spago Hollywood, and I had a muralist do in front of our building, do that Meals on Wheels mural, and that is our entire staff from Spago at the time.
Wow.
And there's Cameron. Wolfgang and I are holding Cameron's center. He's about, I guess he's about 4.5 there, 5. And so it was
chefs in the background as well.
Oh, all the chefs, the waiters in the front, the chefs and the busboys sitting up on the wall there. That building's still there.
As you said at the beginning, you had to write a check personally to actually subsidize the event, but it grew and grew. And
we at some point we were making, we've raised, I don't know, $28 million for Meals on Wheels over the years. We've raised. We emulated that with an event for the American Cancer Society that I did almost as 30 years. And that one was called, we named it the California Spirit. And that raised money for cancer research, treatment, and education. And there are a number of, now I'm involved in an organization called No Kid Hungry that feeds children around the United States and provides 3 meals a day for them. And now while they're out of school, No Kid Hungry has pivoted and has been very clever about finding places where they can have parents bring the children or parents come and pick up food for these children. It also increased attendance at school because you had children that were looking forward to coming in on Mondays because they were so hungry at home. And many other things. I remodeled a home for abused girls for the Aviva Foundation, and I physically did the work myself and then also got many people in the design industry involved so we could get them beds, and I filled it with art and new furniture and desks and closet spaces and all of that. So
it's quite shocking, isn't it, that we congratulate ourselves sometimes that we live in the 21st century and we're terribly sophisticated, but there are still so many people in our own countries, and we can, like I said, we consider ourselves civilized, who still need so much help, and we should be thinking of them all the time. Well, this year.
Yes, especially now. But Anne, I actually do fund charities abroad in Africa and other places, and I supported somebody in Cambodia with her business so that she could get people, these women making product bags and scarves and woven, and I give those as gifts. But I mean, in great substance, I buy in great volume, and I gave her money to expand her company. And another woman earlier than that in South America, she had a whole factory of women that were making quinoa and other things, other food products, who were basically eating out of garbage cans before, and now they can feed their family. But what I want to say is, even though I do that, it's important for people to understand you have to help people in your community. You have to pay attention to your own country. I think people think of as, maybe it's changing now. People realize it. People around the world realize America isn't the land of, milk and honey in total abundance. Because we have such a diverse population. But I've been saying it for 30 years now, that there are so many hungry children and elderly in this country. There are so many people without shelter. And when you drive around, even LA, because you asked, how is it in Beverly Hills? I think the question is really, how is it in LA? When you drive around now, even in areas of Beverly Hills, which is shocking on the periphery, you see tents, you see more and more tents, you see more and more people sleeping outdoors. And every year when I go downtown to buy gifts, at this in this one area where the Japanese knife companies are, I see that the street has extended by 2 more or 3 more blocks of homeless people.
In Los Angeles, which is a city that, certainly from the British perspective, we see as the land of milk and honey.
Yes.
But it's got its problems.
And that's what people have to realize. So many people live their lives with blinders on. They only see what's directly in front of them. They look at their own family, their own situation. And these days, some of them that are looking at that are really suffering. We sadly had to let go many of our employees that had been with us 10, 15, and 20 years and more. It broke our hearts. It really broke our hearts because these people have families to feed. They have medical concerns. It's very difficult. And now the new mandates are coming into place on Saturday again. As I know, there was a new lockdown in Europe, in London, in Paris, and whatever. It is unfortunately necessary because the situation, COVID, is out of control. People are not doing what they should do, wearing their masks, not gathering. They get a little lax because they're so COVID exhausted. They just have COVID fatigue.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
You can't do this. So what I'm getting at is that these people are suffering. There's so much economic loss right now. Many businesses have gone out of business that they will never return. We are floating above the water. We are trying very hard. We keep pivoting and changing our business ideas. We have our outdoor dining now. And
we've got a lovely video that again you sent us of the outdoor dining. Is this is your restaurant in Hollywood?
No, this is in Beverly Hills. Hollywood's now closed, and this is Beverly Hills. And that wall that you just saw, that's completely up the street to the front of Spago, and that wall actually came to be because the metro, the actual subways coming into Los Angeles, and I had to fight for a year and speak in front of city council a number of times and petition for this wall because they decided to put the staging area next to us, which was a lot of excavation, a lot of dirt, and right on Wilshire Boulevard, which is the main thoroughway in
famous,
big wide street. A lot of cranes, a lot of construction, a lot of mess. And we have a big outdoor patio, and I went and spoke and said, look, we're going to have, it's a health issue. We're going to have particulates in the air. We can't afford to have our patio closed. So I got them to agree to build this rather expensive wall, close off Cannon for a certain number of years from Wilshire. And then I joined the art committee, and we all got together and we picked a painter. That's a Matsuyama. He's a Japanese artist that lives in New York and has done a lot of public installations there. That mural was painted in place by him and a number of artists, his staff. And after that, LACMA bought one painting that's somewhat similar to that and put it. LACMA is the Los Angeles, big museum here, and they put it in their permanent collection.
I think it's stunning. And I can imagine it's very popular. I don't know how it's doing at the moment. We've got lots of people coming in with questions here.
Okay.
Actually, and there is one about that. This is an interesting one from Christina in London, who says, me and my husband run a tiny restaurant in the middle of the West End in London. We are only just surviving this crisis. Your advice? How do we keep going? How to attract new business and even celebrities to our venue? It's a brasserie. It's small but beautiful. What can be your advice at the moment to people like that who are really suffering?
Well, it's Christina, yes, or Christine?
Christina.
Christina. It's a very difficult time, absolutely, and it's hard to sustain. But here's the thing. The first thing we had to do when they closed down all indoor dining, and we didn't have outdoor dining yet because that was also me going and deciding to pull permits and whatever. Actually, my former husband didn't like the idea at first, but I did it anyway, and then they presented it to him. Yeah. The first thing we did was we ramped up our to-go menu. And in order to do a successful to-go business, and you being a smaller restaurant, you still need staff that can get that out quickly. you have to make it enticing. You have to go on different apps as we did, so that, and you have to make people via social media aware that you have to go. You can put signs up, you can do whatever and say, and you want to instill a feeling of safety in people and trust that this is being prepared carefully. You're taking all precautions. You could even, it may not be affordable for you, but you could even hire some younger folks to go and deliver food. But in our case, we had people come and pick it up. You probably in London now can't have any indoor dining again. So your only hope is to go food.
Take out an outdoor.
And you are going to have to be competitive in pricing. Don't price yourself to a point where you're going to price yourself out of the ability to make any profit, but you're going to have to be competitive. You're going to have to come up with some interesting ideas, and it may be, in a strange way, longer hours to do the to-go. You know,
I've got another one from the United Kingdom for you. Anna says, I used to love your restaurant in Hollywood when I was out there working for the Disney Channel. I used to go with a whole group of people for the fab food and atmosphere, but it was a wonderful place where celebrities seemed to be at ease and mix and chat with everybody else. Do you still have that restaurant going, and does it still have the same atmosphere?
No, our new restaurant is Spago Beverly Hills. But Spago Hollywood and Spago Beverly Hills overlapped for about a year. I think when people remember Spago Hollywood, they all say, oh, I miss it so much. That's me standing in front of Spago Beverly Hills, but Spago Hollywood was January 16th, 1982, I opened it, long ago.
Yeah.
What it was is that it was a very casual atmosphere. In fact, when we opened it, I had so little money to work with. It was crazy. I even finished it and got it built. There's so many stories about that I won't go into here. So I think what she's speaking about is the fact that the tables were very close together, something we certainly can't. That's Spago Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
The tables were so close together. By the way, there's 3 pictures in that, the Lowell Herrero paintings I had commissioned, and they're in my home now. And the skylight pieces that you see there, I'm going to go back to the question, they're all in my home, and I'm using them in different fashion. And those windows that are special process glass, where the elements of the blown glass are floating in the windows, are actually half of the front of my home now. And those windows open completely with other steel windows, and that's my kitchen. That's my kitchen. You look out at those beautiful windows with olive trees outside. So the tables were so close together at Spago Hollywood that you had Johnny Carson, you had, sometimes, I'm trying to think of, there were so many stars that would come in. That's the back room of Spago Hollywood that I built on after. That was just a tent at one point, because we had only a conditional use permit for the back, and I came up with a clever way of telling them the doors all popped out and they couldn't. And I had a temporary roof at one time and doors that popped out, and they had to give me a permit for it. And then finally, when we bought the upper parking lot, I was able to build that. So that's the old Spago Hollywood. So people were in close proximity. And so, our postman would be sitting next to, one of his favorite stars on a given night. Yeah. And people were just very,
Well, I guess if the celebrities are willing to go out to a restaurant which they know, and they know its style and its ambience, then they are open to talking to anyone. They're in that mood, aren't they?
They are. And, the only problem with the restaurant was it was smaller. And when a certain star like Elizabeth Taylor would walk in, I still remember that evening, people were rising from their tables to leave. They'd finished their meal, and all of a sudden you saw,
I know.
Maybe we're going to sit here a little longer.
There are certain stars that you can't help being goggled about. I don't know. You've met so many over the years. Are there any stars that you just think, oh my goodness, I've met that person, pinch me?
Well, of course, I mentioned Audrey Hepburn. I loved meeting Jimmy Stewart. And I loved meeting and Sophia Loren. I loved meeting people from that era, because I grew up with all those movies. Even as a very little girl, I was watching things like Fred Astaire and whatever, because I was a dancer at the time. I was a ballerina and I loved dance. I was a terrible tap dancer, though. I thought I was going to be great. I was horrible. And I was a horrible violinist, too. It's some things I just simply can't do, like sing. So my mother used to say, my Barbara can do almost anything. Just don't ever ask her to sing, please. Yeah. But, so I think over the years, some of the newer stars, I actually recently, because of Viking cruises, I met it's Cecil, right? That's how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
The singer. I love her voice is so exquisite.
I know. Exactly. There are certain people that that's good, isn't it?
Breathtaking.
With a talent that knocks you out.
And, I met Placido Domingo, so I met a lot of people in the arts. I met the visual arts, the performing arts, film, dance. I also met famous scientists, which to me, because I still have a great interest in biochemistry, I actually don't get my news from regular newspapers. I read a genetics magazine that comes to me. So I read this sort of thing. I have a big library downstairs of books about medicine. So these things still, these things still interest me a great deal.
Still fascinate you. Well, that's good. It's a hungry mind, isn't it? Do you cook? We've got somebody who's just got in touch and said, you were married for a long time to a world famous chef. Do you cook yourself, or did you always leave it to somebody else to do?
Well, Wolf, I used to ask to be taught to. I think I'm all pixelated now. I like it kind of.
Not to me, but if you are, we'll redress it.
From my side, it's like a painting because it's all on many layers. I would like to tell the person asking that question, it's very funny because my younger son learned to cook and he cooked in some of the great restaurants of the world. But every time I would ask Wolf to teach me how to cook, he would say something like, just come into the restaurant, you can go. He didn't, and he didn't really teach the children how to cook. And I wanted to learn German. I spoke French at one point, and now I'm trying to learn Italian. I'm not doing as well. I think I should have started many years ago. And so I do cook, but not like that. But I always say, when people say, do you cook? I go, not very well, but I can make certain things, yes. But Wolfgang can't design, so what can I say?
That's absolutely true. And your love of design, we've got a couple of pictures of you in some of your lovely dress designs as well. Look, and you're also designed the flatware there.
Yes, I did a line.
I did a fab.
Thank you. I did a line of plates called the Flame of Life plates, but I give all the money to charity. And they have a poem on it that I wrote that was in those windows that I had said were in Spago, Beverly Hills, that are now in my home. And the poem basically says the flame of life creates, the flame of love inspires, the flame of passion seduces our soul. It goes on and ends with the flame of life is a circle with no beginning and no end. But it talks about the flame of friendship and healing and all of that. And that's what the restaurant was based on, because when I do a design, internally, I have to have a concept for it. I have to have a general idea of what is this really about. But I thought of the flame as the hearth of the kitchen, the hearth of the home, and that internal flame of life and passion. And on one of the fountains at Spago in the garden area, which is now in my garden area by my 400 rose bushes out there, it has the word passion engraved in 21 languages, but it doesn't mean sexual passion. It means passion for excellence.
Yes, absolutely. Well, here's an interesting question for you from Michael in Portland. He says, I love your colourful design ideas. You buck the trend because so many designers seem to wear black and they design in greys and monotones. Why do they do that? And what makes you brave enough to be different?
Well, first of all, Portland's a great city, by the way. Fabulous city to live in. It's one of the most beautiful, comfortable cities and fun. I agree with what he has to say. and I've been criticized over the years very often my restaurant in Malibu that people still remember and love. People loved it, but the press initially said it's like the Little Mermaid restaurant. But I had designed it prior to the Little Mermaid coming out. So sometimes the critiques bother me a little bit, but it hasn't changed my desire to express myself. And I always say that God created our eyes with rods and cones so we could see color. And that when I've been asked over the years by magazines, what's the color trend this year, or what colors do you think? I said, God, she designed a field of wildflowers, and she didn't decide that color and that color went together or not. Everything works. It's a matter of how you put it together and in what sense and what balance. I have a motto. It's my mantra: live in full color. Live in full color in every aspect of your life. I don't really much, and I haven't over the years, I don't think that much about, do people think my makeup's too much, or my hair is too much, or my clothing is too much, and I'm very earnest and I'm very forthright. I do watch in the restaurant sometimes how I respond to things, because most people are lovely. Occasionally, some people are quite rude, but it's in my place of business and I have to restrain myself. But in my personal relationships, I'm quite authentic about expressing myself, not with the intent to hurt. So the same thing is about my design. Why do they do it? I think it's a matter of safety. Some people really do love those tonal creations, the contrast of black and white, which I like too. Ironically, last evening to work, I was wearing a black cashmere sweater with big fluffy feathers, white and black, and a little Alaya black skirt. And all of my staff said, wow, Barbara's in black and white. And I do have this Valentino dress that has a great flower on it that's white on a black background. So occasionally I'll do that, but I could never live like that. And I also think, in closing on the subject, if you're going to a restaurant, you want it to be exuberant. I always say, I had a podcast and I said, I called it exuberant living. You might as well just get out there and live. You're going around once. You're just going around once. As far as your personal home with designers, some people like things to be more subdued. And certainly my bedroom the colors are a little more restrained. There's lots of wood than my living room, which is primary colors and is definitely a conversation piece, because it's supposed to evoke conversation. But when you're in your bedroom, you want to rest and go to sleep.
Be calm, absolutely. Yeah. And the room you're in at the moment, there's no doubt it has this lovely golden hue, which I was told by Karina, she will come across as gold. And you really have. There is so much more I'd love to talk to you about. You're the most amazing person. Oh my goodness, look at your fashion as well. That's
my rose garden.
Yeah, and you're wearing the picket garden dress.
Well, these are costumes. They really are, that I wear for Halloween and I wear for costume events. Or as my mother used to say, even my normal clothes, she would say, what costume are you wearing today, Barbara? She always, I said, Mom, it's not always a costume. She goes, everything you wear is a costume. Those dresses were made for me. And my pizza dress that I wore for Halloween, Bob Mackey.
As well, there you are. We're wearing
Bob Mackey redid that dress for me, and I wore it to the opening of the 18,000 square foot restaurant I designed at Disney. I spent 4 years on it, from the building from the ground up, and we opened it, and we cut a ribbon. Gloria Estefan was opening her place, and Sir Richard Branson was opening the big mega store Virgin. So I was sitting on a teeny little couch with him that had no stuffing in it, like this. We were squished together for like half an hour, and I'm sitting next to him. We're about to cut the ribbon, and I'm wearing this immense pizza dress that's wired and I'm trying to squeeze my dress together so he had room on the couch. And I'm like turning to him going, hello, Mr. Branson, and he was so nice and lovely. But I've known for these crazy things, but I wear them for different reasons. They're They all have a sort of purpose for a cover of a magazine article,
and
or
you look
for an
fabulous in
event,
them.
or, you know.
And it's very much a celebration of colour and a celebration of life. Why not? One final, actually, I think quite good question. We are avid, this is Bob and Jill, who are somewhere in the United States. We are avid Viking cruisers. Have you ever been on a Viking cruise yourself? And what do you think of the Scandinavian sense of design on board?
I have been on a cruise. I was very honored to be invited on one, and I did my work. John, Byron, and I, Byron and myself being in hospitality, where we had to write up, a critique, and it's a shakedown cruise, I think they call it.
Shakedown is where they're trying out the ship for the first time.
Yes. We were invited. It was a delight. We went through Greece and Croatia, and I was stunned. Croatia was exquisite and has such a sad history of civil war, but now is building up. Beautiful people, beautiful landscape, and Greece was amazing. The ship is stunning. It is absolutely masterful. Everything is made with such thought, such precision. It's not only probably the safest thing that's floating on the water. It's, from the engine room to everything else, and the decks to depart and come into shore, and to just sit outside and watch, life go by. But I think that the way they're designed, as I was speaking about your bedroom and everything else, the woods and the tonality of it, it's so tastefully done. It is truly classic. It's timeless. They are seriously timeless. I don't think they're ever going to be outdated. And everything is so comfortable. I'm not just promoting it because I'm here on Viking TV. This is an extraordinary experience. And so the viewers that are watching this, many of them have been on these cruises, so I'm sure they feel the same way. It is unquestionably, these are unquestionably the finest ships on the sea, and the design is just stunning. The one thing I haven't been on yet that I really want to do is I haven't been on the boats that go through the cities, the river cruise.
River cruise. Oh, you must.
Yeah.
Because that is incredibly intimate. The ocean cruises are fabulous and big deal because you're going from country to country. But the river cruise, you're actually going through the cities. And there are some moments where you almost feel you can look inside people's
touch it.
Yeah, you could touch people's houses, look inside the windows and see their life. Or you go past cathedrals and fabulous.
I've seen the tours. Karina does such an extraordinary job with her videos touring the there. There they are.
That's a picture, which I think is a fabulous picture. That's of Karina and Rod, her partner, and obviously a Viking sea maybe in the background. But that picture was taken by your partner, John.
Yes, it was. I took a couple of thousand photographs, and he took a couple of thousand photographs on the cruise, and we sent them off, and they are the most delightful couple, and they're perfect for each other. We had the best time. We had so much fun. And I want to add one other thing. The cruise, the ships are beautiful, they're comfortable, they're exquisitely designed, but the amenities are also, the lectures, the spa.
Oh, you're making us all so wistful.
Really, everything is so
frankly,
special.
all of us in this community is watching right now.
One more thing. The food. Oh my goodness.
Stop it.
These are truly first class.
Stop it. This is agony because we are all.
No. And the restaurants are amazing. Byron, my younger son, who's so critical about food. Oh my goodness, he's such a little, he can be so difficult. He was really impressed. Really impressed.
What I'd say is the more we go on about this, the more agony it is for everybody watching, because everybody is just dying to get on a cruise again. And that's why Viking TV, that's why Karina came up with the idea of Viking TV, to keep us bonded all together while we're having to wait and be very, very patient. But one day we will be able to get on our holidays again and explore and meet fascinating people like you in real life.
You know what I want to do? I want to go on one of the new ships, that the new exploration ships.
Oh, yes.
I was impressed. I'm a little wary, but I know they'll be safe, because, you know, I'm fascinated by the idea of going to is it Antarctic and also the North Pole? Yeah, the two poles. It sounds amazing. I want to see penguins.
Yeah, me too. I want to see penguins.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah, we'll meet up. We will, you see, that's the point. We just have to be patient. And on this Thanksgiving Day, maybe we should just all step back and say, okay, well, look, you know, we've been through a hell of a time. And if you've lost people, it's terrible. And I know you've been through recent loss too. And you remember people like that on a Thanksgiving Day, and that's how important it is. But, you know, we're lucky to still be here, and we're lucky to still have a future to look forward to. We've just got to be patient, haven't we?
And I want to know if you're coming over now to help me cook Thanksgiving.
Oh, next Thanksgiving. It won't be this one, but it'll be next Thanksgiving. I would so love to. The size of that turkey slightly intimidates me, but you're clearly used to serving an enormous meal, aren't you?
Yes.
So all I can say to Barbara, it's just been so wonderful to meet you. I could talk to you all evening. I was warned that I would be talking to you all evening, but I must let you go because it's not your evening. You need to get on with your day.
Yes.
But I want you to have a wonderful Thanksgiving Day, and I want everybody watching to have a wonderful Thanksgiving Day in whatever way you can make it work for you. And remember those you love, and you know, and just be patient, because we will all get together again one day, won't we?
Yes, and I want to send blessings of good health to everyone. If you are healthy, and if you're not, heal. And I wish you that, and I wish you a time that you can all be with your loved ones and gather again and share. And I hope we can all see each other on a ship sometime.
Yeah, but for the moment, it's been wonderful to spend the last hour with an icon of Beverly Hills and the woman with the golden heart. So thank you so much, Barbara.
It's been such a pleasure meeting you, Anne.
Absolutely. I hope everybody watching has enjoyed as well. And so there you are. There's another Thursday evening here on Viking TV. I do hope you've enjoyed it. I know I did. And until we meet again next Thursday, be safe and be well. Keep very safe and well, won't you? And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye-bye.